We need to get... Fuck.
This is Kira. She's 22 years old and she has never made pasta by herself.
I'm Kira.
That's Kira. Fuck me.
It gets confusing for all of us who we are.
I was so prepared with every other part of it. That's Kira. She's 22 years old and she's never made pasta by herself.
And that's Alexandria. And she used to work on a goat farm and thinks that they're appropriate pets.
They're so good.
No.
I do not permit women to teach nor usurp authority.
A woman's place is truly wherever she wants it to be.
I do not permit women to teach nor...
This week, we're going to talk about body boundaries, aka don't touch me.
We're going to answer some questions, including, does anyone actually enjoy tickling?
Is social distancing actually a blessing in disguise?
And why are people so dumb that they think consent is complicated? You go first.
Okay. Ooh, consent when sleeping or drunk. I'm going to tell a story about one of my ex-boyfriends, Henry. He was so good. There was more than one time where I was very drunk and really wanted to have sex with him. And he'd be like, no, you drank a lot. I know you drank a lot and we're not going to do this today. We can have sex in the morning. And it made me mad in the moment. But then when I woke up in the morning, I was like, wow, that was so respectful. Thank you so much.
That's really good. People should know that. This one, I don't understand why it's hard to understand. Like, I've been around drunk people. And like those people are not capable of consenting.
No, not to anything.
No. If they aren't going to drive, if we don't trust them to jump fences.
Don't jump fences.
Don't jump fences. I don't understand why it's hard. Also, aren't people tired when they're drunk? Like, why are we doing
It's not good. If you want to actually be having sex with the person, you don't want to do it when they're drunk. You also don't want to do it when they're sleeping. Like penetration with an unconscious person, not cool. While I'm sleeping, wake me up. And honestly, if I still like you after you've woken me up, I'm probably still going to want to have sex with you.
Mm-hmm.
Just like push me kind of hard.
It can't be. It can't be what you're looking for if the other person is asleep. Like, honestly, wake them up because it's not consensual. It's just problematic. And there's really no excuse that I understand as to why you're justifying that. Like, the person is asleep.
Exactly.
There's not really like a middle ground.
Mm-mm.
No, and dudes like will complain that, oh, she's a dead fish.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's no more dead fish than that.
My whole body feels like there's ants inside it now.
I'm sorry. I'm saying sex is a 2-player game.
2 or more.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you can do it alone, but if you're going to do it alone, don't do it inside another person. We can do the next card.
I don't feel like people doing it alone are having issues with doing it while asleep. So.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Okay.
Do you need to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Consent is sexy. We're knocking hard ones out of the ballpark at the beginning, aren't we?
Honestly.
Who is not into consent, though? Like, really? Who gets off on that?
I like being asked.
Same.
Not at every point.
Right.
Because I think it's an episode of New Girl where they talk about it. He's like, do I have your permission to do this? Do I have your permission to do this? But just like checking in, like, hey, is this okay? Or hey, do you want this?
Yeah.
I do feel like the over checking in can be helpful, though, if it's like, I then have the opportunity to be like, look, we don't have to check in so often, but I really appreciate it. It signals to me that like, you know.
And you
once you're with
respect
somebody
me.
Mhm.
once you're with somebody for long enough, you kind of know, but yeah, not the
Well,
yeah.
like at the beginning,
yeah.
when you're with someone new, like
Mhm.
checking in is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think that I've told any stories on this podcast. Am I allowed to, or is that outside of?
No, go.
Had sex with this guy once. That was all that we needed. But like he asked at every point, and that was like that was what I went back and was like, oh my God, let me tell you about this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that was really sexy. And I was just like, okay, like glad we're all on the same page. It wasn't obnoxious. Like I was actually very pleased about it.
Yeah.
And I feel like like that was all positive things coming back from me.
Yeah.
And I feel like that should be the goal. And it would have been worse. And I would have been less like, I don't know, happy about it had he not. Because then it's just like the whole guessing game doesn't really work for me, especially when it came to like that. And so I appreciate just like asking about it, because then I have the option to be like, dude, we don't need to do this like every 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like I have the opportunity to be like, thank you. Glad we're on the same page.
I think it also kind of depends on what you're doing. Like if it's something a little weird, definitely ask.
Well, there's also like, yes, agree with that. 100%. Like don't slap someone across the face without asking.
Don't stick your tongue in their butt without asking. Well,
But with rooftop, we're just breezing on past that.
That goes in your corner.
agreed.
But with rooftop, like I feel like I've experienced this with men before, where they tell you how important consent is to them, and they tell you how much they want to respect your boundaries. And then you go from not feeling comfortable to being like, wow, I'm safe here.
Mm-hmm.
30 seconds ago, I said no, but now I'm going to take my clothes off because I know you respect me.
Which I hope they don't know that and aren't using that.
Maybe, but even if they are, I think they're always still serious when they say, like, it's okay to say no, or when they say, I don't want to do anything you're not comfortable with. Maybe they're saying that to show you that they're safe, and that's good. Like, you should communicate that. I mean, not to manipulate people into bed, but
I don't know. I feel like we're sort of in a time period where a lot of men are like, quote unquote, woke when they aren't, but like, I would really hope that they aren't using that for the sake of like getting one step further than maybe they thought that they would, had they not like put out the hand of like, I am safe.
Mm-hmm.
But
you
I
can tell
also
those
feel like
guys.
that's happened because there were a lot of kids in college that it was like, oh, look at you, like taking all of these gender classes and showing up for the events during DVAM or Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And then it's like, dude, I heard a lot of stories about you, and that's problematic.
But consent is sexy all the time. And if it's not sexy anymore, we'll just tell you. That's a whole lot easier than being like, hey, you just assaulted me because you didn't ask.
Mm-hmm.
So, absence of no is not a yes. Self-explanatory.
Yeah. Things that constitute yes. Yes. Absolutely. Let's do it. Do you have other examples?
That covers it.
Things that aren't a yes include no's and maybes and nothing.
Anything less than an affirmation
Mm-hmm.
It's not an affirmation. I
don't know.
So clear.
That seems problematic that we have to explain that. But people don't get it.
They don't. It's very sad.
It's very sad. Don't touch me while I'm working.
Oh, do not touch me while I'm working. These men. Don't do it. That guy who like reached across the bar multiple times to grab my arm or to touch me, like, no, you don't get to trap me behind a bar and then think you get to do whatever you want because I'm there and I have to serve you. Get the fuck out of my restaurant. I'll pay your tab. Boy, bye. I didn't actually have to pay his tab. But
good.
What about dudes just sit there and I fuck you the whole time? That's almost as bad, like touching without touching.
I mean, it's uncomfortable, but like, I can walk away from you and you didn't really violate my body. Like, you may have made me uncomfortable.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's also easier for me, at least, to confront someone and be like, why are you looking at me like that? Instead of like, why are you touching me? Yeah. I feel like I have to be more aggressive when someone is touching me because what they did is more aggressive.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I come off as like a bitchy, angry woman, and men don't feel like they have to be nice to me because I'm not being nice.
But I just think that don't be a creep is the best.
Sometimes I feel like people don't necessarily understand what being creepy is, which is not my problem. It's theirs. But apparently it's hard because people don't get it.
It should be taught in high school.
Honestly.
Elementary school, probably.
I've never had like a bartending or a waitressing job, but when I was in high school and worked at Best Buy, like constantly male coworkers would like be like, we need to hug. And I'm like, I don't like hugging. I was called everybody's work wife, which is also really problematic because I was 16. But like, we don't need to hug at work. First off, I don't want to hug anybody, but that was gross. And then when I worked at a deli, we had to like, as part of our uniform, wear a baseball cap with the logo on it. And my head just was not working with the baseball cap unless I like wore it in French braids. And like, okay, the coworker like had a crush on me the whole summer, but would constantly like knock my hat or like grab my braid. And I'm just like, excuse me. We're surrounded by deli meat and other people.
Ew.
Like, do not touch my hair. Do not touch my hat. My face is feeling greasy already because I've been around fried chicken. Like, you do not need to be in my space. I do not need to be surrounded by any limb of yours. And you don't need to touch my hair. Don't touch my hair. Don't touch me. Don't touch my hat. Don't touch my hair. If it's touching me, you don't need to touch it, especially in the workplace.
Well, I also feel like there's, I don't know, it's different with some of my coworkers, especially at the restaurant. Like, it's definitely a game that servers play where they see like who can touch the other person's butt the most without a customer noticing.
Oh, how fun.
But like, you know who you do and don't do that with. And if you don't know how to read people, you don't play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, speaking of that.
She's staticky for me, if that makes a difference.
Sorry. How does it work though? Like, okay, I'm probably gonna get shit for this, but like my ex-girlfriend would touch me sometimes when I don't like to be touched, and I'm like, no, please don't. And it was like am I repulsive kind of thing? And I'm like, no, I just don't fucking like to be touched sometimes, so don't touch me when I don't feel like being touched. That's something. Does that ever happen to you? No.
I'm usually the person who doesn't want to be touched, and I forget that I don't like to be touched until it like annoys me more than I can handle, and then I'm usually just like, stop it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I would describe it with me.
Okay, so part of that is you should know yourself a little bit better and communicate with your partner in
Oh my
like
gosh, I
a
hate
way
you telling me
that's
to know things about myself.
sensitive to their feelings because they're a person too. And if you're in a relationship with them where you like you've agreed to like meet a certain amount of each other's needs, be sensitive. Don't let them touch you when you don't want to be touched, but like be nice.
I tried to do that. It's just
You date shitty women.
True.
That was aggressive. I'm not sorry.
Eh.
Consent isn't complicated. Oh, this is when I was doing support groups for teenage boys who were incarcerated. And we did one on consent. And I had written on Post-it notes like things that signal consent and things that signal non-consent. And then I had a giant poster board that said, one said consent, one said non-consent. And I handed out the little Post-its and they had to stick them on the appropriate board. They not only got them right, but they put some of the ones that like the book that I was working out of technically considered consent. Mm-hmm. And they put them on the non-consent and then had very good arguments for why like this is not an affirmation. So no. And one of them was like smiling because they had verbal and nonverbal signals of consent. And they actually put like most of the nonverbal signals on the non-consent. So like if she's not saying yes, she doesn't mean yes. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes people smile when they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know why she's smiling unless you ask.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in danger. The meme? No.
Wrong audience, probably.
Probably.
Sorry. But it's just not complicated. If a bunch of 14 to 17-year-old boys can understand it, like how are they growing into these men that are too stupid to understand it?
I don't really feel like they're too stupid. I just think that it works for them to remain ignorant.
Well, most of those guys don't have any friends that are girls. Like, that's a problem.
Or if they do, the women are expected to be like one of the guys and be okay with those things. So that's just how it is.
Mm-hmm. That's not acceptable.
But also, I don't want all those men to be like, well, I have sisters, so I get it. It's like, fuck that guy.
Yeah,
that guy sucks.
Actually, we won't fuck him because that guy sucks.
Yeah.
No dickheads.
No dickheads.
It's a rule.
Mm-hmm.
We're babies.
No dickheads.
Stop sexualizing dickheads.
No babies with dickheads.
Sorry.
I think that's all.
Yeah.
I think that's all I have to cover.
We covered it.
Cool. Teaching children, babies, consent from kids.
Oh, yeah. Teach your kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What does that look like to you?
For babies, like sometimes like explaining what you're doing and why, so that gets normalized mostly in your language, but also because babies pick up on how you're treating them. But then getting consent from kids, like asking if you can hold their hand, asking if you can pick them up, asking if you can have a hug, asking if you can have a kiss. Like, and then if they say no, you just say, okay. And you move the fuck on. You don't throw a fit because guess what? 23 years from now, he's going to be in bed with his girlfriend and throw a fit when she's too tired or has a headache.
Or, don't tell your kid, hey, make sure to give grandma a kiss goodbye. Or don't make them do those things. Mm-hmm. That is, that's where it starts.
It's their body. Children have autonomy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've always done that with my nephews. Like, I don't like giving children kisses. I don't understand why that's something that we do, but maybe that's just a me thing.
I don't get it either.
But like I'll ask for them to give me a hug and sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll only do it if they get to run down the hall and jump on you in order to do it.
That's fun.
It is sort of fun. I also can never keep my balance and they're going to be bigger than me soon. But
that's funny because you're very small.
Yeah. They're also very small. They'll get there. But like I've always asked. And then recently my nephew told his mom that he doesn't like kisses. I guess from anyone. I don't know who's kissing him, but Tracy was like, is there any particular reason? And he's like, God just made me that way. And I'm like, I get it, dude. I don't like being touched either.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we are one and the same.
I fucking hate being touched sometimes. Like, yeah.
We'll get there.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'll go back to my corner.
Okay. Tickling.
Fuck tickling.
I agree.
I think that I've read that like people's responses to tickling and like giggling, it's not that we're having fun. It's like your body cannot comprehend what is going on. And it's like, we're going to survive. And then it's like, want to know what our survival reaction is? Giggles, which is horrifying. I can't stand tickling. I don't think that it's cute. It's not flirty. It just kind of wants me to like, makes me want to like grab a lamp and like hit you because there's literally nothing else that my body can do to defend itself. And I'm convinced that people are going to kill me if they try and tickle me. I don't get why we do it. I don't get why we normalize it. It's not cute. Tickling's like hermit crabs.
Are you talking about like a playful situation or like a
all tickling?
All tickling is bad. Tickling should be illegal.
Honestly.
It is kind of like the feet pictures of dating. Like, it's just weird. I hate feet pictures.
Tickling's terrible. I've learned how to like turn it off for the first 30 seconds someone is tickling. So they usually give up and I just never admit to being ticklish.
My mom would hold me down and lick my face. That was the fucking worst. That was worse than tickling.
Oh no.
That's like the car seat thing for you.
One time my brother did that to me, but like I was an adult.
Oh God.
And he grabbed my head and he licked my face from like one side of my jaw up around my face, over my forehead and down the other side. And he like gathered spit in his mouth first.
Oh.
And I cried and washed my face 6 times and then wouldn't talk to him.
That seems like an appropriate response.
People told me I was overreacting and needed to get over it. And I was like, this motherfucker licked my whole face. My whole face.
I feel like
it was disgusting.
No.
I feel like with the COVID shit, it just makes it worse now. Like thinking about those memories are even worse.
I was watching a movie the other day and I was like, where are their masks?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's going to be a movie where they're wearing them soon.
I watched a show recently and I was like, oh my God, you're too close. Why are you at that restaurant? Like, get the fuck out of there. Too close.
Yeah.
Back to tickling. When I was little, it used to be a thing where like all of my cousins would go over to my grandma and grandpa's and then my uncle would like tickle us. And I don't know why we were tickling, but we were tickling. And then he was like, I'll only stop if you like hold up your arms because you tickle your armpits because they're ticklish. And it was like horrifying. Like lifting them was, I don't know how to compare it, but like so difficult, almost impossible. And you knew that it was what was going to get you out. But like your body was like, no, we need to curl up into a ball and die. It was horrible. Maybe that's why I don't like tickling, but nobody should tickle. And when I say that I don't like tickling, it's really not cute for you to be like, maybe you do. It's cute when I do it because it's not.
No.
It's not cute at all. I'm dead serious when I say that I hate tickling. Sometimes I cry when I'm tickled because.
Yeah. Well, and if I say I don't like it and you do it anyway and I laugh and then you continue to do it because I had a reaction to it I can't control.
Yeah.
And then I'm angry once you stop. I told you no. I did not consent to this. You did it anyway. You violated my body. I get to be angry.
And when I say that I'm not ticklish, don't try. You aren't special. I'm not ticklish is an easier way to say, don't fucking tickle me.
Are we talking about like
all tickling? I know you're confused, but it's all tickling.
Sometimes I do like to have my back.
That tickling sucks.
Even like back tickling?
That's back scratching, which is different than tickling.
Okay.
Tickling is like all of your fingers move at different.
Like hermit crabs.
Yeah.
Mounds
Exactly
of
like
hermit
hermit
crabs.
Ugh. Scratching. To clarify for everyone, more nails in sync fingers.
Ew.
That's not gross. It's just, this is a podcast. But like, you get
We
it.
do have a camera on you, though.
Just like that. Like a claw.
Yes. 100%.
Is that clear? Do I need to say again? The people in the
Right.
back, all
So-
tickling fucking sucks.
Okay, so it's different than like
Tickling is illegal.
if you like
Tickling is
lean
legal
over and
first
just
100
like
days.
Mhm.
tickle scratch someone's back. That's totally different.
Scratching, not tickle scratching.
Okay.
Okay. Also, this is individual to each person. But if someone says no and they don't like it,
Does anyone like tickling? That's a question. I don't think anybody
I don't
likes
think
tickling.
anybody likes it.
Oh, what if you found somebody that was like your perfect match, but they had a tickling fetish? Then they're not your perfect match.
Bye.
anymore.
Cutting off their hands.
Moving on.
That would really solve it.
Cause
You
a
have
lot
to
of
wear
other
mittens.
problems.
You have to wear gloved mittens with no fingers in them.
Yeah, mittens would kind of do the trick, I think.
I think I would let that person tickle other people. They can fulfill that need outside of our relationship.
That's very creepy.
Oh my God.
Don't let your partner tickle other people.
If
Is
it's
that cheating, then?
consensual tickling, no.
Fair enough.
I don't. He asked what if. It was a hypothetical question, and I think I answered it. It's your turn.
Okay. This one. Marriage.
Oh, still my body. Just because I sign a piece of paper that says we can file our taxes together, and if we have babies, it's legally considered yours, even if biologically it's not.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean my body's yours. It doesn't mean my body's yours if I'm drunk. It doesn't mean my body's yours if I'm sleeping. It doesn't mean my body's yours if you're in the mood. It doesn't mean my body's yours if you have a tickling fetish. My body is still mine. All the time. 100%.
And we have a lot of problems if we go back to accepting that consent within marriage is just a given.
It's still a problem.
Like your brain and your body don't really realize that you're married. Like if something's happening to your body that you're not okay with. And I don't know why people think that reacts differently. Like if something that your body isn't okay with is happening to your body, it's not like, wait, are we married? So like the same rules should apply.
Mhm.
Again, consent is sexy. So like wake the person up.
If I'm sleeping, don't put your penis inside me.
Honestly.
That's
It's not-
assault.
It is. And it's not that hard to not do that.
Honestly, I have never accidentally penetrated someone.
Every one of us has a choice every single day to put our penis inside of something or to not. Not doing it is easier. Why?
Honestly, everyone needs to understand. Everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good. Don't do it.
It's not good. You can still ask permission. Like, that's all that we're asking. And this isn't a situation where it's like, oh my gosh, if we accept the concept of consent, then every single man is going to get in trouble and they can never have a relationship with a woman again because all these women are like, oh my God, don't touch my body. It's like, don't touch my body without my permission. Like you're
Right.
forgetting the end part, which isn't that hard.
Mhm. Like, I get that 100 years ago when you married us, we became your property. That's not true anymore. Don't treat me like it.
Is it just difficult because particularly for men, a lot of them feel like have been able to spend a lot of their life not having to ask for permission for things. Like every single time that I raised my hand in class, it was like, well, maybe I think that, or like, excuse me.
You
could I
still do that
please
with
get past you?
emails.
We aren't talking about that. This is an attack on me. But it's like, definitely I ask permission for way more things than I need to. Like, excuse me, can I get past? May I sit here?
Yeah, you ask permission to take up space.
Mm-hmm. And are men just not used to that? So
Yes.
it's really just very foreign to ask that they take up space.
Well, it's not just like they don't know, a lot of men don't know how to ask permission to take up space, but they also don't understand that like you get to take up space. Like not everything that they're looking at or want is theirs to do what they feel like doing with it.
Mm-hmm. That they aren't entitled to
Correct.
be in my space.
Yes.
Men should get better at asking for things. So now that I think about it, it doesn't seem to just be a this pro.
Yeah, it's just in general.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Taking up space.
Taking up
Hey.
space. Hey.
I don't like taking up space. Just saying.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this goes back to body boundaries more so than like consent.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was in DC, I think that this might be on another card. But
Subways.
Subways. Yes, we're
Mhm.
combining with subways.
Okay.
So when I was in DC, I took the metro every single day to work and then back. And like normally, even if I got on the metro and I was like, there are a whole bunch of spaces, I would just stand up and like hold on to the bar because I never knew if like an old person or a pregnant lady or like somebody who had to be on the metro longer than me had to get on. And I was like, I don't know when I'll stand up during the day. And it wasn't hard, but it was like, I understand that sometimes metros got crowded, but it was like people couldn't comprehend the idea of like not putting their hand right next to yours on the bar that we're all holding on to. Or like
Ew.
if we're sitting in a chair, they couldn't comprehend like not sitting on your leg. And so it was like you had to be very strategic about like where to put your bag next to you, but also like putting your bag somewhere where it was like keeping them out of your business, but also not like opening the door to pickpocketing. And really with subways, like everybody was just constantly like coughing on you and taking up all their space and talking on the phone and just like letting the metro like move, and then their body just like moved with it, so they'd like knock into you. And I like gained a lot of muscle that summer from just like holding myself in one spot and being like, I'm not going to hit anybody around me. And nobody else seems to learn that. And I don't know if it was just like a city thing that I never got accustomed to, but like cool it. Sit more on the edge of your chair because you're sweaty because it's DC and it used to be a swamp.
Mm-hmm.
But more generally with the taking up space thing, I feel like I'm constantly taking up less space because other people can't figure it out. Like, why am I moving out of the way when
There's enough
I'm
space for
walking in the
everyone.
opposite direction of somebody? Nobody else ever seems to move. It's always me. And I feel like people need to be more cognizant of the people around them,
Mm-hmm.
and not that they need to take up less space either, but they need to understand that like we can move in the space that we're making so that somebody doesn't have to like accidentally get knocked into a trash can or something.
Well, and also the acknowledgement that like you don't necessarily have to make yourself smaller in order to share space with people. Like this space that we have belongs to, like behind a bar, that space belongs to the 3 people that are behind it. So like you can't just stand in the front of the ice bin and not move. That doesn't belong to you. Other people need to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't, we're sharing the space. So share it.
Have you seen the movie Fight Club? And Brad Pitt has to get up to use the restroom, and he's like, to Edward Norton, he's like, now a question of etiquette. Do I give you the ass or the crotch as I pass by? So he gives Edward Norton the ass, and then he passes by the stewardess and gives him the crotch. Kind of the thing. Like, dudes do that on purpose.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's creepy. It's gross.
don't rub yourself on me. That's gross.
Yeah.
Planes get really complicated with that. I'm always just like, I'm so sorry.
But
I
when you
just have
can't
to
help
pee.
it, acknowledging it, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between like acknowledging that you're in a space where you have to invade someone else's personal space
Mm-hmm.
versus just deciding that that's your space to take up.
I just remembered a story about this. So it's a This Guy Sucks story, an additional one. So my senior year at college, we were having like the college equivalent of Christmas ball, if that was something that high school did. It was a dance. They gave us alcohol if we had a wristband, which I didn't because it was
Feels
too
very
young.
Harry Potter of you.
A little bit.
Nothing wrong
It
with
wasn't as fancy.
Okay.
I looked very pretty though. Anyways, so it started out as we were like, you were assigned to like a frat that they called them nests because they're bantams and those are chickens. So we were like assigned, our nest was assigned to a specific frat to go through to for a pregame.
Okay.
Until we went to Christmas ball. And they were like, you're all probably drunk. So we're going to send the drunk bus to pick you up and take you to like the community room or whatever, where they had the actual like ball part. And so I wasn't in any of those nests. So I just like went with the people that I wanted to go with. And then got on the bus afterwards. And so my friend and I are just sitting in the bus seats. And then some like really drunk, obnoxious guys got on the bus. And this guy's like, I'm gonna play bus surfer. And so we're just like sitting in our seats, trying to not get like beer spilled on us or like into a bus wreck. And my friend turns to me and she's like, oh my God, like he's so up into my business. And like, he was like too drunk, couldn't hold himself up, wasn't holding on to anything. And like this bus surfer game was him not trying to hold on to anything and seeing if he fell or not. And so like he was like touching her shoulder and like running into her seat. And she was just like squeezing into me because she didn't want to be touched by this guy. And so I was like, dude, this isn't cute. You have to stop. And then he was like, oh my gosh, are we going to get into a fight on this bus? And I was like, no, you're just going to stop because it's obnoxious and you know that. And then he didn't stop. And then he was like, it'd be really like, I can't remember his exact words, but it was something like, that you want me to touch you.
Oh,
yeah. Horrible. And then, so like, I think I yelled at him. I don't really remember because I was also kind of drunk, but I was really pissed off and then yelled at him. And then I think that, I told him that he had to get off and then told the bus driver that he had to get off. So he was kicked off of the bus, but then he still got to come to the after party, like ball thing. And then he kept like looking at us there. And then, so he was like staring at me and I was like, did you want to follow up on our conversation earlier? And he was like, yeah. And then like yelled at me about something. And then he was all around his friends. And I was like, look, you said this, and this is why it's really inappropriate. And it's not cute that you think that we all want to touch you. And then I think I insulted something or maybe made a joke about like him being a dickhead. And it was in front of all of his friends. And his friends told him that he was wrong and should apologize to us. So we left. But like, fuck that guy.
that guy
that guy.
sucks.
You don't get to take up space. Bus surfing is fucking stupid.
That guy sucks.
That guy sucks.
Bus
That guy
surfing is illegal.
sucks.
Bus surfing is illegal. And so is that guy.
Telling someone that they know that that they want something, also illegal.
Also, like, my friend is way too pretty for him. I think that he thought that he was really hot. But I was like,
He
dude,
wasn't.
not only is this girl very pretty, she's very smart and you're a dickhead. And no dickheads.
No dickheads.
Hate that guy. I forgot that I hated that guy.
I hate
he
that
played
guy.
squash.
Oh,
His shorts were too short. I also think that he had a stupid name. I can stop bashing on this guy, but that guy sucks. And that's the important thing. If he ever listens to this podcast, I hope that he's a bus driver.
All
My
right.
turn. Okay. That was really important for me to get off my chest.
I enjoyed it.
Forcing me to try food / to eat.
My body, my business. What goes into my mouth, whether it is a penis or some food, it's my choice. Every time it's my choice. Don't try to make me eat because you think you know what's right for me. Maybe I'm too sad to eat. And if you try to force it, I'm just not going to tell you the next time I'm sad.
What men are forcing you to eat?
Oh, my mom tries to force me to eat.
Okay.
Sorry, Mom. Actually, she's become very respectful lately. But like after court, she was like, you really need to eat something. Are you sure you're not going to eat something? And I was like, Andrea, look, I can't. I'll try in the morning.
Change the record, Andrea.
I do think that I checked with her to see if you had eaten that morning. So I apologize for the
Checking is good.
Mm-hmm.
Encouraging is good. Forcing someone, guilting someone, not good.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make me put things in my body that I don't want in my body. Also, same thing with like trying new foods.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me that you know better than me and that I'm going to like it and then force me to try it.
As a side note, I do think that it's a little bit annoying when adults are like, I'm a picky eater.
That is annoying.
Okay.
Also,
Adults
people who say they don't like
picker-
coffee are lying and they should try again.
Yeah. It's an acquired taste. Force it down your throat and you'll like it eventually.
Same thing with beer and whiskey.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's the same thing with most things.
Just, yeah, you'll get there.
Adult males who will not eat fish. Same thing.
What is people's aversion to fish? Fish
I have
is
no
actually
idea.
really good. Have
It
you
is.
tried sushi? We live in the Midwest.
There isn't a fresh. Ooh.
It is better elsewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I lived in San Francisco and the fish there was fucking phenomenal. Here, we're about
Whatever. Congrats on having lived on coasts, guys.
Should we talk about it more?
Oh my God, please.
I only sort of lived on the coast. I talk a big game about the coast. I was in Hartford, which is like an hour and a half away from a coast.
I can see the
It
coast from my
counts.
fucking window.
It counts.
That was
I can
impressive.
see Russia from my house.
I forgot about that.
Did you live on a coast or
I-
were you just in California?
I
San
live.
Francisco's
like-
close to the
San Francisco's on the fucking coast.
San Francisco's on the coast, Kira.
Yeah, and I lived there for years.
I was just
A different size depending on where I am and who I'm with. When I'm with Rooftop, I don't have a bubble. Like, please literally melt your body into my body. When I'm bartending, don't fucking touch me. My personal space is also bigger when I'm with you because I know your personal space is bigger. Like, just be respectful. Just because you want to touch someone or be close to someone doesn't mean they want that.
Thank you. I'm
Mhm.
going to make that a commercial for my life.
I'd be happy to narrate it.
Thank you.
The true facts.
Mhm.
So,
Was the card personal space?
yep.
So my mom nor I are really like people who like to touch other people. And every once in a while, like especially when I was in Connecticut and came home, like I understood because it had been a while, months since we'd seen each other, but she would always like hug me. And then afterwards we'd be like, oh, wait, we don't do that. Because neither of us really know what to do with our arms. Like usually if I'm hugged, I don't typically like hug my female friends because they understand.
Mhm.
Not typically. It happens from time to time. But if like a boy hugs me, I forget to engage my arms. And then I'm just like there. My mom does that too. And like we figure it out when we're hugging each other, but we're like, oh, both of us are bad at that. Like I didn't want to do this. You didn't want to do this, but we're doing this. never mind. And we usually acknowledge like, oh, yeah, no, let's not try that again. But I feel like if you know how the other person feels about personal space, you can't just impose that on them.
Ask.
Mhm.
Consent is sexy.
Sexy.
It is. I'm sorry. I'm trying to.
You do you, honey.
My turn?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for the consent.
Mike story.
Oh.
That guy
Oh.
sucks. This is my special segment, which I'm making a segment.
Mhm.
It's called That Guy Sucks. So there's this guy. We'll call him Mike.
Is that because that's his name?
I mean, there are a lot of Mikes.
Yeah.
Anyways, hypothetically, if his name were Mike, we'll call him Mike. So I was once in the dining hall, just like standing in line, trying to get some stir fry. Then Mike comes up behind me, also trying to get some stir fry, which was really a space that I didn't expect him to be in. He wasn't usually a stir fry line guy. We were like a very set group. Anyways, he's in stir fry line. And I don't remember how the conversation came up. I don't know if I was talking about like a training that I had to go to about like consent and sexual assault on college campuses or what it was, but something came up and we were talking and he says to me, he's like, oh, I thought that it was consent if the guy got it up. And I was like, oh my God. Oh
What
my
the
God.
fuck?
Oh my God.
No.
Like, no. 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 And like, that was just so far away from what consent actually is that I couldn't even like figure out how to start that conversation in the moment. So I think I just got really like upset. And I was like, oh my God, that's not how it is at all. Like, and then I think I had to clarify to make sure that he wasn't understanding consent as like just general body reactions to some sort of stimulation. Cause I was like, dude.
That's one of those like, how many people have you raped kind of
Yeah.
moments?
Honestly,
Totally.
too many. And it was horrifying. And I couldn't tell if he really didn't know or if that was just what he needed to like tell himself or something.
I feel like there are a lot of people who have had non-consensual experiences, whether they were on like the perpetrator end or like the victim end.
Mm-hmm.
And that when you start to talk about consent and you say it's not complicated and you make it very clear, they pretend it's more complicated to either like ignore the way that they've been victimized or ignore the way that they've probably harmed other people. And like, just stop.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a non-consensual experience and I'm not happy about it. Right.
I think most people have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it was made to be like I was the fucking weird one.
I do feel like not all of those non-consensual experiences are necessarily malicious, but it's like
It wasn't malicious.
we don't talk about it. And so it's like people don't know how to identify it. And especially when it comes to like marriage or relationships, it's like one person might feel really uncomfortable about it, but not have any sort of like power in that situation to speak up about it. And to them, it was very non-consensual. And to the other person, like maybe they didn't know, but it was their responsibility to like ask, which is why it needs to not be complicated.
It's not complicated. Just isn't. Hugs.
Okay. The people who say, I'm a hugger, and then proceed to hug you need to stop because I'm not a hugger. And I think that I've responded by saying that I'm not a hugger like once or twice. And then the other person was like very offended. And I was like, okay, so you're telling me that you announcing that you're going to invade your space with my space with the language of I'm a hugger is acceptable. But me being like, yo, you don't need to invade my space, but we can still like be cool. is a problem. And I don't understand that, but I feel like the huggers have taken over the world
Mhm.
and made it a space where you cannot be a not hugger. Like you can just announce that you're a hugger, whereas I've never been able to maybe I should try, but never walked into a space and been like, hey, how are you? I'm not a hugger. And then like, just, I don't know.
Have you ever, when someone is like, oh, I'm a hugger, have you ever been like, oh, that's really great, I'm not?
I don't really remember. Usually I do the math in my head and I'm like, okay, like I'll just hug this person and then just hate it.
The COVID has been great for that.
The COVID has been great for this.
Mhm.
People have hugged me during the COVID.
Gross.
I know. It was horrifying. I accidentally ran into my friend from high school and my friend's mom from high school in a store when I went back home spontaneously and weren't wearing masks. And then they just like went for it. And my mom was like, were you really uncomfortable with that? And I was like, I'm going to take a shower.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
That's fucking terrible.
What are you supposed to do when somebody just like reaches their arms out and you're like, run? That's weird. Like it's always just an easier thing to be like, it's just a hug. I'm just going to have to do it. And
No,
just be really-
normalize not hugging. That takes work at the beginning, but normalize not hugging. I watched someone, as I was walking into work the other morning, I watched someone reject a handshake from someone else by being like, oh, well, we can do this. Like he stepped back and was like, no, thank you, but
Your
we can
mom
do
did
this.
that.
My boss has done that a lot. I've seen it and I've really respected that.
Like, just, it's great that you're a hugger. No, thank you. Like someone, when I met Rooftop's mom, she like went to hug me and then stepped back and was like, are you okay if I hug you? I was like, girl, yes. I love hugs.
With the elbow bump thing, I love that as an alternative. It also confuses me why we have to introduce each other with contact. Like, why can't I just wave at you? Why do we have to shake hands or elbow bump or hug? Why is contact an introduction?
It goes back to showing your enemy that you're unarmed is the reason why we shake hands.
No one should have guns.
Yeah, but it's tradition.
Guns are illegal.
Guns are up there with
Correct.
tickling.
Such a great 100-day plan.
Honestly.
My mom sent me a text that said Alexandria 2040 the other day. I was like, if the planet lives that long.
My grandpa sent me a text on my birthday that was like, Kira 2036. So I think I'm like right on the line of when election day would be. But I was like, thanks, Grandpa. I think I've told you, but he told me at my graduation, he's like, I'm only living long enough to vote for you for president. And I was like, Grandpa, first off, I don't really want to run for president.
Grandpa, you're a felon. You
Also,
can't
like,
vote.
Die whenever you feel
Felon should be able to
happiest
vote.
about dying. He's fine. He's doing great.
Good.
Also not a hugger. I think it's genetic.
It could be.
One more thing about hugging. I also don't like hugging. Sorry, you have to be privy to this. I don't know if the audience is going to appreciate this or not, but I have boobs. So therefore, I'm very conscious about hugging. Do not like it when children want to hug because I'm like, I don't like where
You are that height.
I don't like where your head is. That's uncomfortable for me. That's got to be uncomfortable for you. Like, let's not.
I don't like when their head is like waist height. I'm like, oh my God, please stop.
I don't want to hug children. They're never the correct height.
See, I like kids, so I usually like get down on my knees and will hug them at their level. That's not
Sometimes
your vibe,
I
I don't
surprise you
think.
though.
That's true.
I worked a lot of summers at Bible school
Mm.
where like kids were adamant about being in your bubble. Every single one of them wanted a piggyback ride, but I was like, I don't want to give you a piggyback ride because
No.
like if you jump off or you fall, who's liable? It's me. And they were like, I think that I had children be like, pull us on your ankles. Like, let us. And I'm like, what? Who raised you? Like, walk on your fucking feet. And like, they constantly just wanted to hug you and be carried. And I'm like, you guys have legs. We're all using our legs. But they constantly would just like run hug you.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, wrong height.
Mhm.
don't.
Yeah. See, and when you teach kids that they have autonomy and don't force them to hug adults, maybe we could fix some of that behavior where they think hugging every single person you see and you care about is normal. You don't have to touch me to tell me you care about me.
Really preferred if you didn't.
I think that one of the ways I show you that I care about you is that I don't touch you.
I appreciate that.
I think I knew that.
Like, I don't want to like never be touched. I don't like surprise touching.
Yeah, I don't want to be touched when I don't want to be touched. Ugh.
Yeah. Figure out other ways to express affection, I feel. I do feel like physical touch is a very easy way to express affection.
Yes.
And I need you to try a little harder.
Be creative. Shows you care even more.
That was hugging. I didn't. That guy sucks. Okay. I don't think that you saw this one, but my head is not a fucking armrest. I'm not that short, but people seem to think that I'm really short. And it's a weird thing. Like men who are taller than me, I don't know if it's a form of flirting or just a form of like being a dickhead. But so many men have been like, oh my gosh, you're the perfect height for me to put my arm on you. And then they just like rest their forearm on my head. And I'm like, your hand is dangling in front of my face. Is it a carrot or a stick? Because fuck both of those things. Stop doing this. Who holds their arm like this? You are not a scarecrow. I don't understand why it's something that we do or why we think that it's cute, but the only places that you need armrests are movie theaters and on couches. And even then, like, share. What?
Airplanes.
Yeah. Really, you just need a window seat.
Plan ahead.
But I don't understand why people do that. And it's really an uncomfortable invasion of space that I don't know what to do with, because then my head's just kind of like stuck there. And it's not cute. And I don't think that it's funny.
I think the only person that's ever done that to me is my brother. And I knew he was just trying to be annoying. So I don't know that I understand what that would mean from other men. Like, do you just want me to acknowledge how tall you are? Like, congratulations, you have different genetics than I do. And your bones grew more. Like, what the fuck? You accomplished nothing. But in this moment, you accomplished being a dickhead. Don't do it.
I really don't understand the point, but it's happened definitely more than once. Like, it's a significant experience that I'm thinking of. And I'm just like, cool. Now your arm's on my head.
Yeah, I hate that.
And I'm not that short. That's also what I don't understand. Like, I'm short, but I'm not like really short. I'm kind of almost average height.
It feels like someone just telling you that you're cute again.
Honestly, I have a breakdown about this.
Yeah. I'll be ready for it when it comes. I'm here for you.
Maybe I'll get a nose job. I don't need a nose
Just
job.
get a tattoo. Don't get a nose job.
Okay.
Don't get a nose job. Oh, commenting on my body.
Who wrote this?
I did. I just don't want people to do it.
Because you can't change anything about it quickly besides hair.
Like, I appreciate it when Rooftop will tell me like that he finds me really sexy. That's great. But like strangers commenting on my body. Ooh, I will say one time I had an artist tell me that I have a very symmetrical face and that would be a lot of fun to paint me.
Ooh.
That was very nice.
That's not the movie either.
Oh, you are pushing all my buttons, Christopher.
I know I'm good at that.
I've already had so much.
Oh, I need to do better.
But I just like read the room. Like, there are times where it is appropriate to comment on my body. When I'm naked in bed with you, go for it. Like, please.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm at work or when I'm walking past you on the street or if we're just friends, like, no, thank you.
Even if it's, again, going back to like the short thing, like a lot of people will be like, oh my God, you're short. And it's like, I know, like I live every day in this body. What do you what's the purpose of this? Like, I'm not surprised by that comment. Thanks. I already knew that. And then it's just like, you're really self-conscious about the fact that like, oh my God, you're noticing things about my body. Like, now we're in that space.
Right. And it just makes you uncomfortable when you're like, ooh, that person is really, really looking at me, noticing things about me, and then verbalizing those things directly to me to force me to recognize that they're noticing me. What do you want me to do with that besides be uncomfortable?
And there are definitely ways that you can like test the waters of what complimenting somebody feels like without complimenting their body in a way that's like uncomfortable noticing. There are a lot of other things that you can compliment. Or like express that you're really engaged in a conversation or that you're enjoying their company or something like that. Like,
how about don't compliment with an agenda?
I've complimented with an agenda. Usually not with men.
Yeah, but I'm saying like with a sexual agenda.
Okay. Don't compliment just with the objective. Like, we're going to sleep together.
Yeah. How about just be a fucking person and be
Can
nice?
I do that with people I'm dating?
Yeah.
Anything else in college?
Excuse me. I had an
That was
above a 4.0. Oh my gosh. I was the president of 2 clubs my senior year.
I think I'm crabby today.
Phi Beta Kappa.
I'm in Phi Beta Kappa too.
Congratulations, you're so smart. Good for us.
Today I said something about drinking red wine, and someone else said something about how the hangover from that really kills him. And I was like, oh, I'm not quite that old yet. And it came off like 5 times meaner than I meant it.
I tried to help by saying, oh my God, I
am. I didn't mean for it to come off like that.
I didn't think that it sounded that mean.
I could see.
It was a little
I didn't
mean.
think it was like a tiny bit mean, but he talks about how old he is all the time.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't listen to this.
We're sorry.
Give a formal apology.
We're really sorry.
I sincerely apologize. That's not the tone I meant to say it in.
There's not been once where we purposely tried to be rude.
You're really, really great. And I respect you a lot personally and professionally. Also, please write us a recommendation for law school.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Got that. Maybe.
No, I think it's funny. Whatever.
What was the card? Because I think that I had a story.
Touching back waist. Ugh.
Yes. Frats. I know that people can like, manage without touching backs because you do it with all of your male friends. Also, if you really have to like touch me to let me know that you're moving past, you don't have to use like the palm of your hand. Like, I feel like I've moved through a lot of spaces where I'm like, it's really crowded with kind of like an elbow to guard myself. Not in like an I'm going to elbow you sort of way, but like if something touches you, at least it's not my hand. It's like my arm. Like, figure it out. Be creative. Stop touching my lower back. Also, my lower back. My shoulder is much less like uncomfortable.
I feel like part of the issue I have with it is like the way you're touching me is someone that I'm being intimate with might touch me. Like the place on my body you're touching me, the way you're using your hand to touch me there are other options. I honestly would rather you like flick me on the back of my head and be like, bitch, I'm walking past you. Than touch my waist or like my lower back. Don't. Ew.
Also, again, it was college. So I had some crop tops. And then it was like,
Oh,
my
skin on skin.
It was my
Bare
skin.
Ew.
No.
Bare skin.
Don't
And it's
touch
just like,
anybody
you
bare
have the
skin.
choice not to do that,
Even if
Normalize
it's an
crop
arm,
tops.
do not.
honestly.
They're so good.
But they have the choice not to do it. There are a lot of other things that you can do as an option. You're just being lazy and gross. And it's not cute. I'm not going to turn around and be like, oh my God, come back here. No, what's your objective? I'm uncomfortable.
How many bodies do you have buried?
You have the choice every day to keep your penis and your hands to yourself. It is better for everyone involved if you keep them to yourselves unless you have consent.
Exactly. I've navigated a lot of spaces without ever putting my hand on somebody's lower back. It's possible.
It's easy.
It's easy. You should do it.
You
If
just
you wouldn't-
decide you don't have the right to touch that other person in a way that would make them uncomfortable. And then you find a way to do it without making them uncomfortable.
Also, what you decide is uncomfortable might not be what everybody else thinks. So, like, don't put that on them.
Err on the side of caution.
Err on the side of caution. Most women find it uncomfortable if you're touching their lower back without permission.
Honestly.
And, like, especially if you're a stranger, like, don't.
Oh my God. If I don't
Stranger
know
danger.
you, don't touch me.
And that's what I feel like most of it is. It's just like
Mm-mm.
you're walking past and then there's a hand on my back. Stop.
Don't do it. I don't like it.
As a side note to that, when people like walk their arms around your shoulder, it's impossible to walk. I don't understand why we do that or why it's like in movies as something sweet, because it's impossible to walk. Agree or disagree?
Agreed.
It really depends on the relationship with the person.
Is it impossible to walk?
You can figure it out.
I like holding hands when walking, not arm around them.
Yeah, I kind of just like walking.
I really enjoy touching my significant other, and I tend to end up with other people who are also very affectionate just because that works out better. And so, like, I would rather have most of my body touching most of your body and have a hard time walking. Sometimes. I don't always feel that way. Sometimes I'm like, I'm just trying to walk through Target. Don't stop me. Don't interfere with my personal liberty.
We really got to learn that.
Honestly.
No interference with personal liberty.
I think I'm going to start saying that to more people. It sounds very official.
We should have yelled that at the bailiff today. It's like,
I just
you
feel
aren't leaving. Don't interfere with my personal liberty.
We're fucking salaried. Like,
Also, it was 15 minutes. And I'd been there an hour more than I needed to this week. Body boundaries.
body boundaries, time boundaries, boundaries in general.
Boundaries are good.
6 feet at all times.
What happened to the pandemic as a blessing one?
We didn't actually make that.
But
I just
We've
thought
hit
it was
on it.
funny.
Oh, so we kind of do need to answer the question, though. I think that it's a blessing in
I think
disguise.
so. Every time I go grocery shopping, I'm like, people are so far away from me. There should have been arrows on the floor this whole time.
Mhm.
At first, I was like, boo, pandemic. And then it was like,
Well, hold on a second here. Let's look at the bright side.
then I was like, as somebody who doesn't really like to hang out with people that I don't want to hang out with, what a great excuse to not be able to go home and socialize. Like, I got to very specifically pick that I just wanted to hang out in my mom's basement if I decided to go home. That was excellent. And then I was like, oh no. When the pandemic ends, so many people are going to want to do so many things.
Oh, God.
It's
And
never
then I
gonna
panicked. And then we kind of had a half fix the pandemic. And then it went back to pandemic. And I was like, thanks, universe. It's been really good. I
So
only-
glad so many people died so that you could hang out with your cat.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
I'm crabby.
that was
I'm so
not
sorry.
the point I was going for. I'm just saying it's very easy for me to be a responsible citizen who's socially distancing, except for right now and when I'm at work.
I'm very grateful for people like
I'm
you who are
saving
taking
lives.
the pandemic seriously
Thank you.
and who make it.
I'm sorry. That was
I think
very
that's
rude.
the
No.
fourth time that you've corrected mine or her grammar, and I'm getting very self-conscious. Oh, sorry. Who if it would be he or her? Whom if it would be him or hers?
I don't even remember what I was saying now, but I know I wasn't wrong.
Something about people dying in the pandemic.
No, I was saying that I'm grateful for people like you.
Okay.
Who take the pandemic seriously. And also who make it look fairly easy to take the pandemic seriously. Because I have a hard time when my mom came and visited. We went and got tacos and she was like, nobody, we went in Iowa. And she was like, nobody in here is wearing a mask and people are walking so close to our table.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, mom. She's like,
Iowa's a third world country right now.
She was like, it's like there's not even a pandemic here.
Honestly.
I was like, yeah, mom, do you understand now why it's hard for me when my friends go to bars and I have to say no? Like I haven't said no every time because it's really hard because people within a 4-block radius of where I live, it's like there's not a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of people there acting like there's not. She was like, yeah, I'd have a really hard time too. Everybody I know goes to work and goes home, wears a mask when they go grocery shopping. Like she lives close enough to Chicago that people are scared.
Mm-hmm. My sister, who's a music teacher, like singers are supposed to be kind of like super spreaders because you kind of like spit when you sing or something.
A little bit.
If you're not spitting, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. And our school is like masks are optional for everybody.
What the fuck?
And I'm like,
not in choir.
you should probably figure something out. And then, of course, she told me this like 2 days after I read something that was like, teachers are writing up wills. And I'm like, oh my God, you can come live with me. We'll pay you $1 an hour to be a cat sitter. I'm a social worker. But like, hell no. And I was like, what do the other teachers think? She was like, I don't really know. And I'm like, that's horrifying.
That's
like
fucking terrifying.
She can come live with me. Ethan can come live with me.
Ethan's got diabetes.
It'll be crowded, but we can make it work.
Mm-hmm. There are other jobs. Aldi is paying really well right now, and I'm there.
They are.
I'm so proud of how well they treat their employees.
Silvis was an energy that I didn't love. I don't really remember why. I don't know how this podcast ends.
And now it's time for Chris's Corner.
Oh, hold on.
You get 2 minutes to tell a story.
Well, give me a topic.
Body
boundaries. Set a
boundaries.
timer.
Body boundaries?
That was the top. You were supposed to be like keeping track of the stories you wanted to tell.
These are stories that I don't want the world to know about me.
Share an opinion you have about any type of body boundary. Maybe he should get to make his own card for Chris's Corner.
Yeah. Tell us a story about your elementary school education on consent. Mine had a video about bears.
Mine didn't have anything.
What?
Are you laughing at me? I remember that there were bears.
I feel like I'm going to get to spend the rest of my life learning new things about you, and I'm so thrilled about it.
It's going to be really good.
This is why people think we're in love.
Have you guys seen the movie Revenge of the Nerds?
No.
Okay. Well, from personal experience, I can relate to this. It's assault. There's one scene where...
God. Continue. I'm so sorry.
So is putting your penis in someone while she's sleeping, even if
Exactly.
you're married.
So there's one scene where the main jock guy, he is dressed up like Darth Vader, and he's going to be with his girlfriend. And
Like sexually?
yes, sexually.
Okay.
Euphemisms are very confusing.
I would have
Well-
sex with Darth Vader.
Okay, but the main nerd guy also dresses up like Darth Vader and does a quick switcheroo.
That's assault.
Something like that happened to me, and it was not cool, and it really fucking bothers me. So, don't do that. I don't care what the fucking situation is. And
So, actually, a similar story to this is the reason that I'm going to law school. There was a woman in Indiana who fell asleep spooning with her boyfriend, woke up, there was someone behind her. She assumed it was her boyfriend, never turned around. They had sex while spooning, and then it wasn't her boyfriend.
Yep.
But the way the laws are written in Indiana, he couldn't be prosecuted for anything. And I think that's
because
wrong.
she didn't have any sort of like resistance.
Well, because she consented to sex in the moment, and there's nothing about like concealing your identity or coercion or anything written into Indiana law.
Ugh.
So I was like, how do I change laws?
Mm-hmm.
So here I go.
That happened on my birthday, too. So that was even worse.
I'm really
But I
sorry
don't
that
really
happened
wanna-
to you.
I don't really want to go into that. But yeah, it
Sucks.
still fucking bothers me.
That would bother me too.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That was not okay.
It was not okay. Yes. So, that was Chris's Corner.
Next week on Overreaction, we are going to be talking about internalized misogyny.
That's exciting.
We have a lot of research to do. Looking forward to it.
I didn't finish my whole bottle of wine this episode.
Technically, me neither.
Well,
Come back next week for
we can
Drunk or
finish
Kira.
this bottle of wine.
One more glass. I'll do it.
All right. Salutations and see you later.
Signing
Goodbye.
off.
Signing off.
What do you want us to say? See you in 5 to 7 days
There we go. There we go. Yes.
to talk about why women hate themselves.
And the men who enable it.
That was really dark and I liked
I'm gonna have to come up with this guy sucks for internalized misogyny. There have got to be a lot.
I do not permit women to teach nor usurp authority.
A woman's place is truly wherever she wants it to be.
I do not permit women to teach nor usurp